Hi, this is Fong Chua from Assurance Real Estate Acquisitions, and we have here today a very special guest of ours, Josh Tesolin, our realtor. He's here to answer a few questions that we have about real estate and the roles of a realtor and what a realtor can do for your power team. So Josh, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how and why you became a realtor?
Okay. Well, I first started investing in real estate a little over 10 years ago. And when I bought my first property, I had a really great realtor that helped me buy it. And along the way, while we're looking at properties, I started asking more and more about investing in real estate. I wasn't really approaching it to find a place I could live. I was more so, I thought I was a genius. I didn't hear anyone tell me that, there's a really good plan out there to buy properties that cash flow and maybe buy another one and how to do it that way. I kind of thought of it on my own. So I thought, oh boy, I'm so smart. So as I was talking to my realtor and I was telling him, I'm going to get a house with a basement suite and I'm going to rent out half and I'm going to live in part. And he's like, yeah, lots of people do that. And I was like, oh. But I was only like, I was 23 years old, so, I had a lot more living to do. But as it turns out, it's a good idea. And so he took the ball that I was running with and brought it to the next level. And he gave me a bunch more tips and he took my plan and he put it into action. So when I got my first place, I told him, I'm going to buy 3 more of these within the next couple of years. And he said, I hope you do. And I didn't. I ended up, I was on the path. I started taking more education, taking seminars, that kind of thing. Very common thing for people who get into real estate investing. And I started from square one, but I did have my first property under my belt. And I ended up phoning him years later and saying, okay, I'm ready to buy another one. And he said, well, I thought you said we're going to buy another one like a couple of years ago. And I said, yeah. And he said, it's okay. That's very common. It's very common for people to stop at one. But if you're getting to that next point where you're going to buy your next one, that means maybe you're serious about real estate. So what I did after I got the second property is I decided to get my own license and start selling real estate myself, because that's when I really got the real estate bug. So I got licensed and I joined the same office, the office we're in right now, as he works in. And I wouldn't say I mentored under him, but I kind of worked closely with him and he showed me the ropes of being a realtor. And so I quit my day job, which was a good job. I was in marketing and it's what I trained for, and I liked working with the people, but I found it hard to get to that next step, being an investor without, getting away from the rat race, per se. So as a realtor now, I've been a realtor for 7 years, full time. And it's hard. It was, they say that within the first year of being a realtor, 85% of people don't renew their license. So it's a grind. Mm-hmm. If you have no marketing behind you, no experience in advertising, it's going to be a tough year.
So it must have helped when you said you had a marketing background.
Yes, it definitely was my ace in the hole. Mm-hmm. I got past the first year and I got past the second year and I started meeting more clients. That's around the time I met you guys, and that was a few years ago that I met you guys, 4 years or so.
Yeah.
And since then I've completed transactions of all types, rent to owns, not just typical being a realtor, buying and selling real estate, assignments, everything. So lots of the techniques I've learned, I've tried. Some things I liked, some things I didn't like.
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, you've been very important to our team. Could you tell us what is your most important role as a realtor?
Okay, well, the most basic role of realtor is assist in buying and selling real estate. Realtors are licensed by your province, so they can legally sell. We're talking about residential real estate. There's different kinds of realtors. Some realtors specialize in commercial. I have a commercial license, but I find my bread and butter is in residential real estate. So a realtor also has access to the MLS, which is, as of today, the most powerful marketing tool that is available to us. So that's the real backbone of being a realtor, having access to the MLS and knowing how to use it. So for instance, when I first met you guys, you kind of conveyed to me your needs and what you're looking for, and I kind of talked about my experience investing, and then I set you up with a search, right? That's kind of where it starts. You start getting your automatic searches off the MLS, and start viewing properties, and I'm sure you can attest to that. The more you view properties, the more you learn, and the more you feel comfortable in certain neighborhoods and types of property, and that's pretty much my role.
So you mentioned the MLS. What exactly is the MLS?
The MLS is a database that's owned by the Canadian Real Estate Association. There's one in the US too, and it's populated by realtors. It used to be a big white book that was printed weekly or monthly in smaller towns, but in bigger cities it's a big book, and it was the key. Like if you didn't have a realtor, if you couldn't get in this book, you weren't selling your home. It's different now. Times have changed, but it's still a very, very powerful tool to have your listing on the MLS.
So I know that for myself, I could go on to MLS.ca, MLS.com, or Realtor.ca or .com or something like that. What's the difference from the information that I can go and see on these sites as opposed to you as a realtor?
Yeah. So the database that's for public access is relatively limited. If you go to MLS, which is multiple listing service.ca or realtor.ca, it's a basic view. Everything's there except houses that may be listed as vacant. Sometimes you won't find them on there. It's a security issue because you don't want everyone knowing where all the vacant homes are. But if a realtor sends you the information, you can get more details such as days on market. You know that's important. An investor must know how many days something is on the market. If it's 1 day on the market, maybe they're not going to negotiate as hard as someone who's been on the market for 60 days or 90 days. So that's an important detail. If you're buying a condo and you want to know what the condo fees are, that's not generally on the MLS public website. It's a really important detail, right? So when a realtor sets you up for an automatic search, he could send you the exact same stuff as you can see, or he can set you up for a more privileged view.
Okay.
That's definitely important to request. Get the full deal, get all the details. And there's also really cool details such as square foot of each room, just generally. Maybe you're not looking for investment, maybe you're looking for self, and some of these specific details are important to you.
And what other information does it show? Like condo fees or property taxes and stuff like that?
Property taxes is there, I'm pretty sure you need the detailed view to see property taxes too, yeah.
Okay. Now, for an investor who's looking for a realtor, or maybe a first-time home buyer who's looking for an investor, how important is it for a realtor like yourself to also be an investor as well?
You may get different answers to that question, but I think it's super important. If my original realtor wasn't an investor, I know I wouldn't be where I am right now. Or maybe it would have taken me longer, but I don't want to learn from someone who hasn't done it themselves, right? Whenever you do seminars or anything like that, you'll always hear the adage, unless you made $1 million, how are you going to teach me how to make $1 million? It's the exact same thing with real estate, I believe. There's so many pitfalls, and now that you've owned investment properties yourself, you know that there's so many details, the learning curve was steep at first, right? Not just finding the place, getting the proper rents, the property management aspect, all of that, It's a deep subject, right?
Right. Now, there's this mindset out there for investors who go, well, if I find another realtor who's also an investor, what are the chances of them giving me a deal that's actually a deal when they're an investor? Like, they'll probably pick through all the good stuff first before they bring them the deal. How true is that, and is that very likely?
That was a hard question because, well, of course it's true, right? Like it definitely happens. That's why you have to look for a realtor until you find one you trust, and you would call him a partner on your team. He's not just a realtor, that just shoots me deals here and there, and I go look at them. You don't want to be on a race. You don't want to be in a race to beat your realtor to find a deal. There should be a little thing of ethics there. So that comes down to the individual, obviously. But yeah, I could easily take deals for myself. I could. Right? In fact, let's go one step further. A really good realtor will see something good that comes in and call you quickly and go, "Hey, this might be for you." Mm-hmm. No, I need to know quick. It's really good. Okay, and then move on to the next client maybe. That's what a good realtor should do. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes it takes developing a relationship, right?
So for yourself, when you're approached by a investor or a client, do you usually take on any client or any person, or do you go through a kind of interview process to see if that's the person that you want to work with and see if there's a good relation to be built there?
Depends. And to be really honest again, maybe the only thing I'll interview is their qualifying power. Like, can these people actually buy a house, mm-hmm. or are we just looking at houses for fun? Right. That's maybe where I'll draw the line. It's hard to judge someone as an investor client until you really get to know them a bit. You got to take some talking, right? Everyone's strategy, although your strategy might be just I just want multifamily houses that cash flow. It's never that simple, mm-hmm. right? Everyone has a threshold they can feel comfortable buying. Everyone has a certain amount they can qualify with or not. How much money you have access to for down payments. It's all different for everybody, right? So I give everyone a shot. Develop a relationship. Talk.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned before one of the roles that you do is do comparables for your clients. Yeah. What exactly is a comparable and how important is it? Comparables are, sometimes you hear the word comps thrown around. I think it's really important. You might be familiar with people offering free home evaluation, right? You might hear that phrase sometimes. So a free home evaluation is pretty much comparative, or it's a market analysis, right? We call it comparative market analysis. And what you'll see is solds, active listings, and maybe things that didn't sell, expired listings in a certain little area. And that gives you a much better idea than just seeing the active ones. How would you know if it's a deal if you don't know what things have sold for, right? So realtors as a marketing tool often offer this to sellers, right? Here's a comps for your area, and here's what you can get for your home. And to be honest, often that analysis is kind of maybe on the high end. Maybe they picked properties that sold on the high end because they want you to think you're going to get an excellent price for your home, and that will encourage you to get to list it, right? But a good realtor for an investor, right?
will give you the bad comps,
Mhm.
right? I want the worst case. You know, the past year, not just the past 3 months.
Right.
I want in the past year, what is the lowest deals that happened around this property?
Mhm.
And not just for sellers, for buyers. And you're often a buyer, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're looking at a property and you want to know if you're getting a good deal or not, you want the comps before you buy. That's rare. Lots of realtors don't offer comps to buyers, right? So, but would you agree that it helps, right?
Of course it does.
It's really good insight. Not only that, you can take that analysis, and maybe you have other partners, wife, maybe money lender, maybe it's family or some kind of private, entity in your life, and you can use that analysis to explain your deal. Make it sound like you know what you're talking about, rather than just saying, "I found this great deal. Trust me, I think it's good." So I think it's super powerful and not utilized enough.
So when an investor or a first-time home buyer comes up to you, well, I think this is a great deal, this is something that we really want to buy, do you do kind of a check yourself to kind of justify what they say?
Always. And how often do you bring a property to me and I bring it back to you saying, "I don't think so, Fong. I think I looked it over, I don't think it's good enough."
So what process do you go through to do that check?
Pretty much the same thing. Same thing as I'll do is maybe the same comps I give you. But since I'm the one at the computer logged in, I can do a little bit more checking than you can, right? So maybe I'll look in the neighborhood down, or I'll just get more insight, and then I'll have a better idea. Also, just you got to realize that realtors look at a lot of properties. Right, so I've often seen the worst case scenario, with other people through the years, firsthand. Right, so it's good to have that extra insight when you say it helps to get that opinion.
No, besides that, you also do your checking by calling the other.
Oh yeah. That gets into the negotiation side of things. Negotiating is a long process, right? And the very first thing is your realtor calling the other realtor and just kind of feeling it out. Just, "Hey, we're looking at this property. I have just a couple of questions for you." And just for that conversation, your realtor should get, these guys looking to sell? Are they desperate? Are they going to be stingy sellers? Is it a bank? Lots of things, and that's where it starts. So when your realtor meets with you, it's nice when the realtor's already talked to the sellers a bit. And you kind of got a feeling what's going on here. Maybe if you're looking at 4 different properties and you're kind of serious on them, and you got kind of a feeling on each seller, it helps when you're deciding which one to go to first, right? So I think it's important. Plus, when you start to, the feeling your realtor gets might affect the offer you put in, or how low or how close to the listing price you start. Maybe you have a bottom line. And a certain realtor, right off the bat, will tell you, "Just give me your best offer." And you can save a lot of time that other people could have brought in offers if you just go straight to that bottom line. But some realtors, they got to be softened up. They'll just be very vague about it, or maybe just say, "Bring an offer on paper and we'll see what we can do." And then you start low. You do the back and forth dealing, right?
No. We know that when we're looking at those listings that you send, there's also a listing agent on there too. So why would somebody go, "Hey, why don't I just cut out the middle person and go directly to that listing agent?"
Yeah. It's kind of like real estate agents are professionals, right? And you generally want a professional in your own corner, right? It's always better for negotiation, especially since it's 2 separate parties negotiating with each other for 2 people that will never meet. It really helps in the negotiating. If you're negotiating with the realtor who listed a property for a seller, his first loyalties, although they shouldn't be, probably will be toward the person who's paying them, which is the lister, right? So I think it's better to have a selling agent and a buying agent separate. It's also better for negotiating as a buyer because your realtor, if they're a skilled negotiator, can act a lot more detached. You know, just here's my offer. We're going to look at some other properties.
Right.
Let us know. You know, so if you're dealing with that one realtor, he kind of knows what you're doing. He knows you're not looking at anything else, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a huge reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you know, I've helped family members deal on new houses with builders, and just by being the realtor, they know they got better deals than other people they knew that worked with the builder themselves. And that's generally how people buy new homes, right?
Yeah.
Themselves with the builder. But as the realtor, I brought my clients there. We expressed interest. We talked about the homes, and then the home builder, the home rep, the sales rep for the home builder, was, you know, so what do your clients think? And I kind of held him off and said, well, we're just still looking at properties. We weren't, but he doesn't know that, and that made him a lot more negotiable. It was, you know, even with a brand new home builder.
So you're saying there's actually a big benefit for people to, even though they're buying a home brand new, to bring in a realtor as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So how come more people won't do that?
It's just an unknown fact. Yeah, it's not obviously not something that home builders want to encourage, and it's funny because home builders in Edmonton, particularly, have went through great lengths to develop a relationship with our real estate board and each individual home builder. They want realtors to bring their clients over. It's just, you know, if they can get them there without the realtor, that'd be better, right? They're trying to get more money.
So you mentioned before that the selling agent will get paid by the person who got them to list their property.
Correct.
So how does the buying agent get paid?
Typically, it's sort of changing as time goes on, but typically, the listing agent collects the commission from the seller, and then he splits it, generally speaking, with the person, the buying agent that brings the buyer.
Okay.
So when you're a first-time home buyer, you don't pay the realtor anything. Now, some realtors are making people sign agreements where if you buy a home and I don't get paid what I think I'm going to get paid, you're going to pay me.
Right.
That's getting more popular. I generally don't do that ever.
So when you were talking about the commissions, what's the general going rate for the commissions?
In Alberta, it's a little bit cheaper than in Ontario. It's 3.5% or 3% on the first 100,000, which is 3,000, and 1.5% on the balance, whatever else the house costs.
And that's for the buying agent?
That's the half. Yeah, that's for the buying agent. If you're the lister, you'd be paying that twice, potentially. Although there's lots of options out there now. Lots of different brokerages are charging, you know, different commissions to list. So, you know, things are getting a lot more flexible, and that's good. That's the way it has to be, or else, you know, this type of industry will never last. With the internet, you have to adapt on it. So I believe in the future, I think all realtors will be really flexible, commission-wise.
I see. So you're saying that commissions are usually negotiable?
They're always negotiable. It's just, it's often, it's like an old, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of tricky, but lots of the big brokerages, Remax, Century 21, Realty Executives, Royal LePage, most of the agents in these type of big offices won't bring up negotiating their contract, their commission.
So you mentioned like the bigger companies, the Remaxes and the Royal LePage. Is there a difference between who you go to, or is there a difference between going to a big company compared to a smaller company?
It just depends on the realtor. All realtors should be negotiable. Just, you know, generally speaking, the big guys are less negotiable. There's lots of smaller companies popping up that are negotiable. It's their mandate. It's right on their website. They reduce their listing commission. But generally speaking, for selling it, it's hard to sell your property unless you offer that half I told you about in full. It can be done, but if you want to get top dollar, when I sell my own properties, I pay a realtor in full.
Okay. Now, because a realtor gets paid on commissions, one of the fears that a buyer would have would be, how do I know that my realtor is not trying to get the highest price for that property? So what would you recommend a buyer to do to mitigate that risk or to find the right realtor for them kind of process?
Good question. It's true that a realtor gets paid straight commission, so the more they sell, the more money they make. How you know that your realtor has your best interest in mind is just developing that relationship. It's very smart to interview your realtor. You could maybe talk to more than one. It might be smart. When you start putting offers in, you'll know real quickly though. It's pretty easy to tell if your realtor's trying to get you to just accept something, or if your realtor's kind of approaching it from the standpoint of, guys, I think it's worth this. And if your realtor's actually getting to a point where he's saying, guys, I think we should look somewhere else, then that's someone you can trust. Or how many times does it happen where you've been negotiating on a place and you said, okay, Josh, this is my bottom line, see what you can do, and I got it for less than what you thought it was going to be, right?
Oh yeah.
That makes you trust me.
Yeah,
right? Right. So when you have someone that does stuff like that, hold on to that guy. That's a partner in your team, not just a guy trying to make a commission from it.
Okay. You mentioned before about interviewing your realtors to find if they're the right fit for you. What would a first-time home buyer ask their realtor so that they know that that's a good fit? And is that any different from what an investor would ask their realtor?
Yes, perhaps. A first-time home buyer just wants to make sure that their realtor understands what they're looking to buy and their budget and their life plan, right? It's a more personal process, right? You also want to make sure you're actually working with someone that you enjoy working with, right? It's fun to work with, and it kind of understands your personality. It's important, right? Your home is a reflection of your personality and who you are. So those are questions I would ask if you're buying a home for yourself as a first-time home buyer, a home that you're going to live in. Obviously, you want to make sure they're an experienced realtor and know what they're talking about and good at negotiating just like anything else.
Yeah.
But as an investor, there's a lot of stuff that you want to make sure your realtor is experienced at. And the biggest thing is making sure that if an active investor themselves. Lots of people are afraid to ask. They think it's kind of rude to ask someone, how many rental properties do you have? Or what kind of rental properties do you have? Don't be afraid to ask those things. That's really, relevant for you to know, right?
As a realtor who invests and also works with other investors, some first-time home buyers will go, where do you fit into their home buying experience? Based on my experience, I believe that there are 3 key things that you can provide to your first-time home buyers that will help them with their buying experience, such as your connections, your knowledge of that house, and also different options that you can provide for them. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure. So as an investor, I guess you would say that I have a little more experience with houses because I own multiple houses, right? So I experience everything a typical homeowner would experience at my age, times 5, right?
Could you elaborate a little bit more about the connection side of things?
Right. So behind me, I have a full team of connections. whatever you need, I got that sorted out. If you are, as a first-time home buyer, you're going to need a lawyer, a home inspector, you're going to need a mortgage broker. You might need other things too, like an electrician, plumber, specific things to do with maybe your after your home inspection, maybe need consultations. I have all of that, but as an investor, I have another whole set of contacts that I know that gets even deeper into the maintenance of the home. Sometimes when you're buying a home as an investor, you need to have property evaluations. Sometimes you'll need multiple mortgage brokers. It can happen, right? And you might need a specialized commercial mortgage broker. Maybe you'll need moving specialists or whatever it takes. I have all that behind me. But if you have those connections on your own, or if maybe you have family members, or there's always people that will recommend these type of connections for you, no problem. Just, it's good if you work with a realtor that has developed relationships with these different fields and can recommend good people to you. So yeah, that's a huge advantage.
I see. So also with regards to knowing properties a lot from your experience as an investor, what kind of value does that add to the first-time home buyers as well?
Right. So as an investor, instead of owning one house this whole time, I've owned multiple houses this whole time. So all the pitfalls that you come across being a homeowner, I've experienced it over and over and over again already. Mm-hmm. So that, I believe, is a really big benefit to people. I can go through a house with you and know a little bit more about preventative maintenance or renos that need to be done. Me personally, I've actually taken the courses to be a home inspector. I'm not a home inspector, but I just wanted that extra knowledge. Whenever I sell a home and there's a home inspection, I'm at the home inspection. I spend the whole time there. And for the past 7 years, I've been absorbing that information. So I do have a lot of knowledge of the house. That's important to me. I put a lot of my money into houses, so I really want to know what I'm buying too, right?
Now, what kind of options could you provide the first-time home buyer?
Well, it depends. Like it depends on the problem. If maybe you have a limited budget, maybe I propose some options in your budget that is in an area maybe you didn't think, but in an area that I think would be better for numerous reasons: resale, schools, that kind of thing. A realtor should know the city inside and out that you're going to live in. Other than that, maybe I can propose options as an investor. Maybe you're not buying the home as an investment, but a home, whether you're buying it as an investment or not, I believe is an investment. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could qualify for a condo. Mm-hmm. That's $180,000. That's what you can afford. But what you didn't think of was that you could qualify for a house with a basement suite that's twice as much money and have a mortgage helper. So that scenario actually recently happened with a fella that I was working with, and it worked out very well for him. He ended up buying a nice home with a basement suite, and it's actually, his monthly payments are actually cheaper than if he would have bought the condo on his own.
For an investor, they'll usually like to look for other investors who are realtors as well. What makes you different than other investors who are realtors, and what kind of value do you add to your potential clients?
Well, I understand the investor because I am an investor. So I think investors want to work with someone who could teach them. Investors don't want to work with someone they're already beyond as an investor, right? They want to get to the next level, right? You want to keep learning. So I believe I'm at a level where I could offer, you know, for the beginner, I'm a great addition because I could probably definitely take them to the next step. I'm not going to pretend that I'm Donald Trump. You know, I don't own sky rises all over the globe, but I can definitely take you to that next step where you're starting to cash flow, maybe quit your day job. I can get you there. You know.
In the last few years, there's been a lot of a la carte services out there for realtor services. Why is it still a good idea to go with a realtor?
Okay, so the a la carte thing got very popular in 2006, 2007, when we had lots of activity. We had a housing boom, and prices skyrocketed, and it became very easy to sell a house. So some people were listing their houses, paying full commissions, and then realizing that they just paid a lot of money for nothing, right? Because someone just basically typed on the computer for a bit and it was sold. Yeah. But A, those days are gone, and B, a la carte services are typically for home sellers, right? Different options like we won't be very active in selling your home, but we'll put it on the MLS. That costs this. We can put a lockbox on. That costs this. You know what I mean? There's different things. We'll put a sign up. That costs this. Right. You know, that's the a la carte services. But as a home buyer, you generally want full service. It's generally not costing you anything anyway. So you want a realtor that right off the bat that can dedicate all of his time and knowledge to you.
Right. So how, as a seller, even though if they put up a sign or something like that, it may not be as efficient as how a realtor will do it.
No, that's the whole point. You'll save money, but you're not going to get the full, you know, knowledge and help of a dedicated realtor. That's just, you know, that's just the nature of it. So if maybe you've bought and sold your 5th or 4th home, maybe that kind of service would be better for you. Maybe you'll save some money. And I encourage that if that is you. If it's your first time selling a home or your second time, you might be better off with a full service realtor because you might make more money and sell it faster if you listen to their advice. If they give you good advice, generally, statistically, it's true that you'll sell faster for more money if they utilize the MLS to its best.
What would be the signs of a good, efficient realtor?
Okay, what you should expect from a realtor is, first and foremost, efficient, effective communication. When the realtor knows anything, they should get back to you with, you know, at least a text, preferably a call every few days. You know, like you should be in constant communication. And if something important comes, if you're listing and an offer comes, or if you're looking and a good listing comes up, they should get back to you right away. In the appropriate method, of course. A good realtor will also have extra education. Don't be afraid to ask your realtor what kind of extra courses they've taken, extra experiences, that kind of thing. You know, I think a good realtor should be very good at negotiating. Like we mentioned before, negotiation should be on your best interests, not as you should think about making money second. Realtors should never be concerned about what they're going to make in the deal. It should be, if a good realtor knows that to have continual business, you leave people very satisfied. You got to go over and above, and the people have to believe that you're acting in their best interest. So a good realtor will always be honest and upfront with his opinion in your interest.
Now, from my personal experience, I know that you've done your own property management, your own tenant searches and screening, all that kind of stuff. You also do your own buy, fix, and flip sometimes.
Yeah.
What kind of those experience have you used to translate into helping your clients?
Oh, Big time. It's invaluable. If you're going to buy, fix, and flip, that's a risk, right? Now you're talking about a risky venture, and to have someone on your team that could buy the home with you and sell the home with you is really important. You want a realtor. First off, if you're talking about selling, that's a cost. You want to make sure your realtor is negotiable. If you're a constant investor, your realtor should be giving you a break, right? You should be having a flexible realtor, developing that relationship. But B, I've done it many times, so I can help people widen their margins, right? The first time you flip a home, you can expect to make much less than the third or fourth time you flip a home. But if you're working with a good realtor who's done it a few times, maybe you can skip that. Maybe you can skip that line and go straight to making the, 30 to 50 grand a flip or more,
As a property manager yourself, has that experience been able to allow you to help your clients determine what is a good deal with regards to cash flow?
Yes, for sure. So, if you have an investment property, if you're not cash flowing, you're bleeding cash, right? So, effective property management is very important. Even if you're hiring a property manager and they're taking up to 10%, could be less, could be 2 to 10% of your cash flow, of your total rent is going to be going toward a property manager. Can be very worth it, but you still have to be your own property manager in some aspects. That is a skill on its own. And a good realtor will stick with you. Even after you bought the property, you're going to have property management questions if you bought it as an investment. Your realtor should help you through that process. Definitely, I've learned a lot being a property manager for myself.
From a realtor's point of view and an investor's point of view, what would you recommend as an investment strategy?
Okay, there's lots of strategies, and they all depend on how much capital you have getting into the game, what you're comfortable with, what's your experience in property management. But my favorite strategy is the one that I started off with, the one I thought I made up myself, which I clearly didn't now that I'm older, more experienced in real estate. But I think the best strategy still going is buy the best multifamily you can afford. Often that's a house with a basement suite, and you would live in part of it, rent part of it out. Maybe if you want more cash flow, you live in the basement. Maybe that's a bit of a sacrifice to you, so you live in the top and make a bit less. But your goal is to rent out both halves and qualify for your next mortgage, move out, and get another basement suite home, right? You're essentially playing Monopoly, right? Let's say you have 3 or 4 of these basement suite homes. You could trade up. You could sell them, or you can hold them forever. Lots of people end up just holding. That could be someone's retirement, right? That could be someone's exit from the rat race. Never mind retirement,
right?
So I think it's a super powerful solution. By the way, with real estate and making money, I'm just focusing on cash flow. That's all I'm ever focusing on. But there's other ways you make money in real estate. I'm not even focusing on the appreciation. And I'm not even focusing on the fact that you can leverage the property, right? You can always borrow against that equity that you've built up over time. I'm not even getting into those ultra powerful, concepts. I'm just talking about making extra cash flow and using that money to replace your income eventually. That's it.
You mentioned basement suites. There are a lot of people out there who would like to invest in real estate, but then they go, basement suites? Why would I want to buy something with a basement suite? I would never live in something like that. To those people, what would you say?
There's a very simple answer. If I can rent out a house, let's say I rent out not a luxury home, just a average home, and I rent it out for $1,600 a month. I can rent that same house out with a basement suite. Maybe it's 3 bedrooms up and 2 bedrooms down. Maybe it's just 1 bedroom down. But if it's got a decent kitchen in it, I can rent that same thing out for $1,300 up and $900 down. You know, that's bang right there. So I just made X $100 more. Now I'm gonna cash flow.
Mhm.
With the first scenario, maybe you can cash flow a house, but not much, right? You'll cash flow a little bit. But with the basement house, I can cash flow enough that it's significant and makes a difference, and it's worth me to hold, right? If I'm cash flowing just a little bit, and my house appreciates, I might be more inclined to just sell it because I'm not making much every month anyway. Not when you consider once in a while there's a month vacant when tenants change or the maintenance upkeep. You know, you gotta consider all these things when you're getting into it.
Mhm.
Don't just think, oh, this is what I can get, this is what I cash flow. There's lots of stuff to go into your analysis of that investment. So, multifamily is the way to go.
Mhm.
If you can afford more than a basement suite, go for it. If you can afford a fourplex or a triplex or maybe even bigger, even better the cash flow.
Right.
Even less risky the vacancies, because now you have multiple units to spread that vacancy across. If you have a vacancy on a house, you just have 1 tenant in that house, that hurts, because all of a sudden you're making nothing.
Right. Now, buying a property or buying a home is usually a very emotional thing for either first-time
Yeah.
home buyers or first-time investors.
Definitely.
Would you say that another role that you play is being there to take away the emotion and looking at it as a numbers game?
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to go so far as to say I take away the emotion, because sometimes it can be a very good experience for a first couple or anyone. Buying a home can be buying your dream home when you're 50 could be one of the best experiences of your lives. So keep that emotion, keep excited about it. But I do like to be a voice of reason. I like to be objective when it comes to the investment side of it. Even if it is just a home that you're going to live in. Maybe it's a little better buying in this neighborhood than this neighborhood. Even though you love this home so much, maybe this home is going to appreciate much more over the next 20 years. So maybe you'd like to know that. I'm not trying to change your mind or sidetrack you. I'm just trying to give you all your options. Right?
So at least that it's something that they know they could choose from.
Yeah, exactly.
For somebody who's looking to buy their first home or thinking about buying their first investment property, but it's maybe not next month or 2 months from now, do you recommend them to talk to a realtor right away? Like, what kind of timeline do you usually give?
I recommend talking to a realtor about 3 months before you're thinking of buying. And I recommend you talk to a mortgage broker even before that, Just talk to them first. Because knowing what you can qualify for can mean a lot. Could drastically change what neighborhood you're looking for. And, often you don't want to go, maybe you don't want to go right to the max you can qualify for. But it's good to know your range. So I talk to a mortgage broker, then talk to a realtor, and you should get set up on that auto search I mentioned. So you start getting the listings emailed to you, and you start getting questions about the market. You'll be targeting a neighborhood you like at first. Maybe that often people target a very specific neighborhood, and by the time you end up looking at properties, it's expanded greatly. So watch the listings that come in, notice the price ranges, look at the pictures, and call up your realtor and start to educate yourself. It's a big purchase. You don't want to be nervous going into that offer. So the more you understand the market, the more you ask your realtor before you actually start buying the homes, the more confident you'll be. You'll be much more comfortable in the negotiation process. much more comfortable with your realtor too. The more you talk with that realtor, obviously, by the time you're looking at putting an offer on the most expensive thing you'll ever buy, it's a much better feeling, much less stressful.
When a person puts in an offer, what would you recommend as must conditions that you will put in there?
Okay, generally speaking, the most common conditions are home inspection and financing, right? There's other conditions that can be added. There's a lot of others. You don't need to put every condition under the sun in your offer. It's a stronger offer with the least amount of conditions you put on the seller, on the contract, I should say, but essentially the seller. So, I generally like to say, just say a financing condition, and you keep it vague, just say subject to financing suitable to the buyer. That's kind of your get out of jail free card. I mean, that means if you don't like your mortgage broker's hair color, you can get out of the contract. So you're definitely not going to be locked in. I also like people, even if they aren't going to have a professional home inspection, if for a first-time home buyer, I definitely recommend a professional home inspection. But I like to tell people to have a condition of home inspection, because that, at least during your condition period, gets you entry back into the house. So you can get back in there and check it out with or without a real home inspector. That's up to you. But I generally recommend those two conditions together.
Mm-hmm. Now, generally, how long do you have before you have to satisfy those conditions?
Generally speaking, most sellers' representatives want about a week.
Mm-hmm.
But you always try to get a little bit more. As an investor, we usually try to get a little even more. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe even more. You can always get an extension, but beware that if you get yourself a really good deal, try to get the best condition period you can. If you got yourself a smoking deal, there's a good chance there could be a backup offer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your time runs out and you think, it's okay, I'll get an extension, but a backup offer is in play,
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting your extension. Right. It's over for you. So be wary of that before you step into deciding what your condition period will be.
Right. Now, what about the possession dates?
Possession date is generally a week or more after you lift your conditions. You just need time to meet with your lawyer. Your lawyer is going to go through a lot of things with you. You're going to get a big stack of papers, and generally it's talking about transferring the title, taking over the property taxes. You're going to pay them or get a rebate for the property taxes. Your lawyer is going to take, if you're the buyer's agent, lawyer's going to take money from you and transfer it out. I should say money from your lender, if you're having a lender.
Mm-hmm.
Your lawyer's going to communicate with your lender and transfer it to their lawyer selling the place. So yeah, he needs at least a week. Generally speaking, I'd say the whole process is usually a month. So by the time you have your accepted offer, a week or two of conditions, then a week or two to close after you lift conditions. But I've seen possession dates as much as 3 months after an accepted offer.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, if you're looking at a home and it's vacant, most likely the person selling the home is going to want it sold fast. So if you're saying, I'd like to buy it 3 months from now, they might not like that, because maybe they have a mortgage on the home. They're still paying the mortgage, they're paying the property taxes, paying the insurance. So maybe it's better for them to keep it on the market rather than sell it. Maybe you could have got a better deal if you had a shorter condition period, because if the seller's thinking, hey, I'm not getting a very good deal on this home right now, might not just leave it on the market. Why not?
Right.
It's probably a better option for them. So try to keep it within a month or so. Makes your offer stronger.
Right. During the whole putting an offer in and getting a deal done, there's a lot of things that could be negotiated, such as the condition dates, the possession dates, the conditions itself, and the purchase price. What else is something that you and the other realtor would be negotiating on the seller and buyers that we have?
Okay. When you first present the offer, on the offer you're going to have a deposit, right? That you give to the selling realtor's office. They're going to hold it in trust. That deposit is negotiable too. The people might wonder, why do I have to give a deposit? If I'm entering a condition period anyway, and I might not even take the house. It's because the people that are selling the house are essentially taking their house off the market. The ball's in your court. No one else can offer on this property. So they want to make sure they have a serious buyer in their hands. And if you were to take off, maybe leave the country, they're going to keep your deposit. That's theirs. But if you don't lift your conditions, you get your deposit back. A typical deposit is 3 to 5 grand. Sometimes they'll want more. Maybe they want 10 grand. If it's an expensive house, not uncommon. It's also an option that you could say, I'll give you an initial deposit of $1,000 or $2,000, a more low amount. And if I lift conditions, I'll give you an additional deposit, because that means you're buying the house anyway. So just to make sure you know I'm serious, I'll give you an extra $5,000 or more when I lift conditions. So that's another way. These are all little tips to strengthen your offer. Make it seem like you're a little more serious. So that their other office will hold your deposit, and that's again your lawyer's job to collect that deposit and add it to your down payment of the house.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't live your conditions, the office will write a check for you, just like this, and you get your money back. That says Fong Chua. So, another thing that's negotiable is, actually, lots like what's included with the home. Maybe you're getting appliances, and that's negotiable. Maybe they have it on the listing sheet that they'll give a washer, fridge, and a stove. But you go there and it's a deep freeze. And you notice that there's garage door openers. And you want to make sure you're getting those things. Put that on the offer. I had one fellow that was, he put everything on the offer. He put the guy's lawnmower, weed eater. He wanted a box of nails. Like this crazy stuff. He put it all on the offer. He even asked for a Texas Mickey of whiskey the guy had in his cupboard. That was on a real estate purchase contract. He got everything except the whiskey.
Oh. For someone who is looking to buy a house or looking for questions to be answered and would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to contact you?
Okay, you can either go to my website, it's just my name, Josh, Josh, Tesolin, T as in Tom, ESOLIN.com. Or if you want, just call me directly. My Edmonton number is 780-271-5544.
Okay. And I would just like to say, on behalf of Assurance Real Estate Acquisitions, thank you very much for this interview.
No problem. Take care.